So what do you think goes on in Area 51 then, if anything?
I think they test advanced weapons and stuff. Like they build
Aircrafts,
planes,
weapons.
they test planes. A lot of the stuff isn't just simply like building planes. It's building the systems and the weapons that go on the planes. Stuff like radar and things like that.
Why would you need, thousands of miles of empty acreage of desert?
In case your plane crashes.
Plane crash, weapon test.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of different sites out there. There's sites for testing munitions and things, and then there's ranges where they shoot things. But if you're going to do stuff like shoot a rocket up, you wouldn't. First of all, you wouldn't have a buffer zone so people can't stand on the edge outside the fence and on a stepladder and take a photo of things.
Right.
So you've got to have miles and miles around you that just keep you from everywhere else.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you wouldn't have lots of options for doing various things like different terrain and whatnot.
So this is something that was recently declassified.
New reporting this morning
by the Air Force. Like they had recently unveiled that they were spending $22 million in investigating UFOs because it was happening quite frequently that members of the Air Force were seeing unidentified objects moving in really inexplicable ways. For example, this video here.
Unidentified flying objects in our airspace.
Yeah.
The New York Times speaking with 5 Navy pilots who've all said they've encountered UFOs during training missions up and down the East Coast. The pilots even noting that the objects were accelerating to hypersonic speed, making sudden stops and instantaneous turns, something beyond the physical limits of a human crew.
Clearly, there's nothing
more
that we're used
footage
to seeing
here.
up there. We submitted a safety report saying that there was an unidentified object in our working space, and we don't know what to do.
This on the eve of a new History Channel series called Unidentified, Inside America's...
this just turned into an ad. Let's close that.
Yeah, so that video there is called the gimbal video, and that video and the other 2 videos there you've seen there are stuff that I've done a lot of work on. I've analyzed those extensively.
So tell me, what do you think about it? I mean,
that video there is almost certainly an infrared glare. When a plane gets very far away, the glare from the engine can get so big that it's actually bigger than the plane itself in terms of just what it looks like on camera. You can imagine a very bright light on camera, it kind of flares out. And it looks bigger than the actual object itself. Like someone's holding a flashlight at night. Flashlight's pretty small, but you see this bright light around it.
Right.
That's viewing something in infrared, and it's black hot. So it's actually inverted. It would normally be like a white thing there. And what's happening is the internal optics of the camera is what's making it rotate. It's kind of complicated to explain. I've got like a bunch of videos.
Yeah, it's hard.
It.
I think it would be hard to dissuade anyone with that because it's so complex. But also what I'm thinking is, like, obviously the Air Force would understand that. Why would they release it and fuel?
They didn't exactly release it. The Air Force didn't release it. It was one guy, Luis Elizondo, who now works for the To the Stars Academy, which is Tom DeLonge's organization.
Why'd you laugh, Dan?
Because I know about Tom DeLonge's whole thing, and he's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Tom DeLonge believes really passionately that there is alien visitors out there, and that by
wait, he's a senator or something, right?
Tom DeLonge?
No.
Oh, who is he?
The former frontman for Blink 182.
Okay. As credible as it gets.
Yeah.
That's why I laugh.
Yeah. Because I know there was I had been reading that there was a member of Congress that was responsible for this $22 million
Harry
fund.
Reid.
Yeah.
Harry Reid, the senator from Nevada, I believe.
Harry Reid?
Yeah. It is. I mean, the leader of whatever he was.
Wasn't it speculated to be somewhat of a corrupt thing because he knew?
It was. The money went to essentially Rob Bigelow, Bigelow Airspace. Bigelow's got contracts with NASA to make inflatable habitats for the space station. So he's a real legit person. But he also has a very strong interest in UFOs and things, and he kind of shares this interest with Harry Reid, who's his friend. And so Harry Reid set this thing up, and Bigelow became the recipient of a lot of this stuff, and some of it
Pretty
went
shady.
into like reporting UFOs and stuff, setting up a database, and
But also just giving $22 million to your friend.
Yeah, well, I don't. Yeah,
Your friend's company.
It's certainly something that I would encourage people to look into. But I'm not going to point any fingers without knowing exactly what went on. It was a proper contract. It was awarded to Bigelow. and it's just a standard type of government pork, essentially. Somebody got something for their friend. Happens all the time. Like you get a bridge built in your hometown or whatever. It doesn't necessarily mean it's super corrupt. It's just corruption light, the normal type of corruption that we have in America.
We have a good tolerance for
the
corruption light.
The pork system in America, where
I
you
see.
add things on. It was $22 million over 5 years. It ran for those 5 years. They never really found anything of any interest, and so the program was
Closed it up.
Was shut down. But this one guy, Luis Elizondo, you saw him briefly there, he continued to be really interested in the topic, and he claims he was still working on it, and he claims the operation was still going on. But he eventually left, and as he was leaving, he made a request that 3 videos that he knew of, these 3 famous videos, Gimbal and 2 others, be declassified.
Interesting.
Because he wanted to use them for Tom DeLonge's organization. So he did it back and forth. He got them declassified. The Navy didn't release them as stuff. They just looked at them and said, yeah, that's nothing. You can have that. So they stamped it and gave it to him. And then they presented as being these amazing UFO videos.
Wow.
When they all have quite reasonable explanations. There's another one called Go Fast, which looks like a UFO skimming really, really fast over the surface of the ocean. But the good thing about that video is you have all the numbers on the screen. So you can figure out the angles of the camera, and you can do a bit of trigonometry, and you can figure out exactly where this object is in space. And it turns out it's not over the water, and it's not actually moving really, really fast. It's probably something like a balloon or a bird that's actually hovering around 10,000 feet. And because the plane is flying past it, the parallax makes it look like it's moving really, really fast because the camera is constantly pointing at it and turning around. So these things have explanations. But that's not what Tom DeLonge wants.
Not that fun of an explanation.
Yeah.
What did you just send me? Oh,
I believe it's the video he's referring to.
Yeah. Let's show it for reference. Yeah, I've seen this one too. I mean, it looks extremely compelling.
Yeah, it looks like it's something that's moving really, really fast.
It's hard
But
to see.
you got to remember the jet itself. This isn't shot from a helicopter. This is shot from a jet that's moving Mach 0.6.
It looks like the plane's not moving at all.
254 knots, calibrated airspeed, which is about 300 knots, over 300 miles an hour. Something probably 350. So it's focused on this thing which is floating around 10,000 feet up in the air, and there's the ocean way beyond it, so it looks like it's moving fast.
Yeah. That's a problem when, for someone who's completely unequipped to understand what they're looking at, like myself, I would just think the camera is not even moving and just following something.
The trig you do from the numbers, like earlier on, you could see that I think it was tilted down at a certain angle, and then when there was a range which tells you how far away it is. So it's tilted down at this angle, it's this far away. Very, very simple trigonometry. It's just like the sine of the angle multiplied by this gives you how far away it actually is, or how high it is. So you can work it out. A high school student could have worked out what it was. But the To the Stars Academy, Tom DeLonge, they didn't work out. They didn't do the math.
Yeah.
And they carry on to this day claiming that it's at sea level when you can just do the math and it's not at sea level.
That's incredible. It really looks like the camera is stationary.
Yeah.
And I think when you realize that the plane is...
Yeah, that 254 in the corner is the speed, calibrated airspeed in knots, which is actually less than the actual airspeed.
Once you realize that...
And it's being viewed from 25,000 feet. It's 3.4 nautical miles away and angled down at 22 degrees. So you can just work out from that where it is, and it works out at around 13,000 feet, which is about halfway to the ocean.
Certainly these pilots must see stuff like this all the time, if it's just like a bird or a balloon.
And by the way, remember that's what it said about that other video. Because I remember we talked about it when it came out, we read the article. And it said that they reported that they would see it multiple times a day. With the thing that you said, there was a glare.
But they're seeing other things there. The thing is about all these videos is that we have all these reports from pilots, and they say they see things like lights in the distance or occasionally things zipping by them. And then we have these videos, but we don't have the two together. We don't have a pilot saying, I took a video of this thing and it was doing this stuff. So you've got like
conflicting.
Yeah, you've got this one pilot saying there was a tic tac that was like zipping around like this, And then they also show a video of something that's not doing anything. It's a different video of that. You just see this little white dot in the distance, and it's not moving at all. And they say, well, we got the evidence, but there's no connection between this guy and this video. So we need to get the person who took the video to say what's actually going on.
Right.
And we don't have that. And we have explanations for all the videos.
That's very interesting stuff. I think that's great. Is there any UFO footage that... there's so much by now that's been captured, supposed evidence. Have you ever seen anything that you found inexplicable or
all the time,
compelling in the
well, there's two different things: the inexplicable and compelling.
Yeah,
you don't generally see those two things together.
Right.
You see inexplicable things all the time. You see a little white dot up in the sky, and you can't explain what it is exactly. You can come up with some hypotheses as to what it might be. It might be a plane, or it might be a blimp, or it might be a balloon, or it might be a bird, or it might be a cloud. It might be a little bit of lint that's very close to you, or some kind of seed or something that's very close to you. You could be having a temporary brainstorm or something, and your visual system's messed up. So there's all kinds of things that things might be. But often you can't figure out what it is. So the fact that we have UFO videos that are not identified is going to be a given. UFOs exist at the boundary between identifiable and not identifiable. So they're just a little bit beyond. If we could zoom in on the things, you can identify them. So as camera technology has improved recently, UFOs tend to get further and further away. We used to get photos of UFOs which were just like hovering over people's houses. But now we get ones that are like hovering over a nearby mountain because we got these super zoom cameras that can zoom in all the way, and we're all carrying around like high definition 4K cameras in our pockets. So the boundary at which UFOs exist has somehow shifted further and further away as camera technology has improved, because we're able now to identify all these things that are closer. If I was to take a photo with my iPhone, it's such high resolution, you can tell what things are. Whereas when people were taking pictures with their Kodak Instamatic, it was just this blurry little blob.
Do you think there's a problem with the theory of aliens visiting the Earth to begin with?
Yeah.
Is that a plausible theory at all?
It's a possible theory. I wouldn't call it a plausible theory. You got to look at the evidence for the existence of aliens to start off with. There's complete radio silence throughout the entire nearby galaxy. We don't have any signals coming in from people that we can even point to as being slightly alien-like. I'm actually having a guest on my podcast next week called Seth Shostak, who's the head of SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. And he'll tell you that they haven't really had any good candidate signals. They occasionally get excited about something, and then they figure out it was just the microwave down the hall doing something. But there hasn't been any indication that there are any aliens who use radios to communicate nearby. And you think these stars, they're light years away, so the radio waves take quite a while to get here. And so we've got kind of snapshots of history at various distances away, and none of them have civilizations. And we don't know how long will a civilization last for. If a civilization was actually very, very good and at surviving, they would actually populate the galaxy relatively quickly, because they'd be able to send ships to nearby stars and populate all those things. So you'd expect to see
a lot of activity. Like stars everywhere being turned into Dyson spheres, which is where they use all the energy to
power things.
Well, that's quite depressing.
Yeah, we don't see anything. It feels like we're in this dead galaxy.
How far away can we see? I guess visible light, right?
Yeah, we could see the stars, so we could see if there was some kind of large structure around the star. There was recently an interesting thing where they found this star that had this it was variable in a way that made them think it was something like a Dyson sphere going around the star with holes in it, so the star would shine out now and then. But I think that turned out to be something else. I'm not sure they ever figured it out.
I remember that one that came up.
Yeah,
Wouldn't
but
that be so
it's that's the one thing that they discovered, and it was probably 100 million light years away.